So, dear participants, we are starting once again on this electric vehicle um, energy management part because I am discussing mostly energy management and control of uh, uh, electrical sources actually. Hybrid electric vehicle was discussed in our last uh, session. Um, it is kind of well established that we need these hybrid vehicle during this transition, and we have checked a few issues also. Now, it is true that the hybrid vehicle is having some advantage and some limitations. And when we moved to this hybrid vehicle area, that is electrical source as well as the IC engine, then the next step was automatically nature in the electric different sources and reduce uh, uh, pressure on the initially and then can reduce the emission literally. So after this, we have some ideas earlier in our last class. I'm just quickly going to the final proposal. This was the final proposal where we understand that uh, maybe the short propulsions accelerations can be supported by ultra capacitor. Let me. mm, I think there is one option, pointer option. Yes. Uh, so we told that we were asking about this ultra capacitor. That ultra capacitor was very good. It is having very high power capacity. So for propulsion, it is very good. Though its energy density is low, so maybe it is not that good. So from energy density point of view, the cell, fuel cell or battery, they are good. So it is kind of a mixture of that, having ultra capacitor there. Now, when we are moving gradually, we are moving to this um initiation of uh, hybrid electrical energy sources. We kept battery and ultra capacitor simultaneously, and that was the discussion in our last class. So what we have done in our last class, we have quickly uh, knowing or being not sure about another session on this discussion, I have proposed another type of source here. It was photovoltaic source along with the battery and ultra capacitor. But at the onset, at the initial part, when you are
Excuse me, sir.
talking about, yes,
Participant have asked you to say, to present
to
it in a presentation mode, sir. Means to make the slide in presentation mode, sir.
okay, okay,
Okay,
okay,
means
oh,
this
okay, 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 okay,
this small swing, sir. That's why.
okay,
Okay, sir.
okay, okay.
Thank
I,
you, sir.
I understand. I
Sorry for the
understand.
interruption, sir.
No, no,
Okay,
no,
sir.
no issue. I understand the problem. Actually,
Yes,
I
sir.
have shared one application, and that's the reason. Now I'm
Okay,
sharing the
okay, okay. No
screen.
problem then, sir. It is
No, no, it
visible
will.
now also.
No, no, now it will be more uh, proper. Mhm. Sorry, because
Yes, sir.
now it
Yes,
is
sir.
full
Yes, sir.
screen, na?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What
Yes, sir.
happens
Thank you.
if I share one window? It will share only the PPT. When it is going to
Yes, sir.
full screen, it is another application. I forget about that one. Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay,
So
sir.
during propulsion, we have taken ultra capacitor. That is the PPT, and during fully run, we have used energy storage battery. That is this full screen mode. So our control should vary from ultra capacitor to battery for long run, for long session. So thank you for keeping these things in this way. Anyway, so as these things were also discussed little bit, that what can be the motor. It may be BLDC, it may be permanent magnet motor, PMSM, or BLDC is also permanent magnet motor, or induction motor. It may be even DC series motor. We can look at it. But problem with DC motor is that it is having one brush in it, and vehicle is running so in so robust situation, or in so rough situations. It may happen that your brush will not be supporting that. So better we go for brushless situation. Both squirrel cage induction motor and BLDC are very robust in nature. So they are very much preferred. And we may think of some other type of motor also. Switch reluctance motor is coming nowadays, coming for vehicles. But these machine related applications, their control drives, those parts are very interesting, but are not coming in this jurisdiction in my area. What I am discussing today with you is this hybrid nature of your electrical sources. So this is one proposal, this is one situation when you are using two source, that is battery and ultra capacitor both. Hmm. So okay, okay. Now you can see the battery is connected. This is one multi-input in converter where the output is DC. But if you are running on BLDC, then these output will be converted to your required AC voltage, or whatever is your need of the drive by this driver. This is one another inverter. But today I am not discussing this one and the drive of the machine. I am planning to discuss this part. Huh? So when I am discussing this part, let us understand few things. This battery in this particular proposal, you can understand there are battery, ultra capacitor, and outputs connected in this way, and few modes. Few modes means one mode in red color it is written discharging mode. That is, battery is giving power to the output, as well as the ultra capacitor is giving power to the output. So both battery and ultra capacitor is giving power to the output. It is discharging mode. When we will be choosing one discharging mode is a separate issue. That part we will discuss. But supervisory control we will discuss. But before and we understand that discharging mode will be there when it will be there, both battery and ultra capacitor will be discharged. It is one proposal. Another is uh, another is regenerating mode. In this regenerating mode, you see the arrowhead is opposite side. So output will be, because of some operational advantage, output can generate power, slope or something else. You are braking through regenerative braking, then the power can be uh, fed back to the battery and ultra capacitor both. And the final one is charging discharging mode. This line, you see, charging discharging mode means the battery at that time, maybe the power requirement of your vehicle is less, and the ultra capacitor state of charge is also less. So what happens, battery is only supplying to the ultra capacitor, as well as it is supplying the output. So we are talking about electrical only situation with three different combinations. You understand, one hybrid vehicle will have electrical and IC engine, both operations, and who will operate when is one question. But this time, what we are talking, that when electrical only is working, then also you are finding three different operating situations are there. And if you look at it, means when it is charging or discharging, we can say something like this. Uh, See, operation, as I told, discharging, regenerative, and charging and discharging. Three operating modes. No? Now, this figure is telling us that both are discharging, this discharging circuit. Remember, this was one complicated, little bit complicated circuit than a normal DC-DC converter. It is multi-input. So you are having, you are basically having switch S1, S2, and T0 for control of this inverter converter. S1, S2, and T0. Basically, these three are controlling this converter. Means how much voltage will go. All the equations will depend on these three: S1, S2, and T0. But Q1 and Q0 are additional features. Actually, if you make your Q0 off, then it will discharge. It will allow the current to flow in this direction. If you make it on, then current can flow in the opposite direction also. Okay, same is true for S1 and S2. If they are off, the current can flow in the opposite direction also. But when you want to let them discharge this battery and ultra capacitor, you let them discharge, then this will happen if these switches are on, not off. They are on. So as they are on, the current is flowing through this side, and the main switch I told you, Q0, is off. And as it is off, the current can take the path through the diode. So it is simple power electronics knowledge is assuring this one. I'm not talking about T0 and Q1 here. I'm talking about these two and Q0. Sorry, not T0 and Q1. These two are not discussed for discharging mode. Discharging mode you need, uh, well, Q1 is there, but it is off. Q1 is off. Now your circuit, this T1 is on or off, is not the question. Right now it is not the question. Even if it is on in the circuit, it is showing it is on. It is not allowing any current to flow through this path. Actually, it is taking this diode based path and it's going to the output. So if it is off, then also the same. But we will see that when both are on, what will happen. Now, this is the second operation, that is regenerative mode. In regenerative mode, the, the output will be feeding battery and alter capacitor. Okay, so the switches S1 and S2, which were earlier on, are now off. Okay, S1 and S2 are on here and off here. Okay, and as it is regenerating, so the switch Q0 is now on, so it can take the current in that side. So this is the situation when the system is working in regenerating mode. Now you can look that there is a change in the regenerating path of battery and ultra capacitor. That in the ultra capacitor there is no extra switch, but in battery we are having one extra switch. Uh, the main reason behind this is that when you are charging, ultra capacitor automatically adjusts the current by increasing the voltage across it. Yeah. But the battery is not like that. Battery will not be ready to, battery is having no regulating mechanism on the current. So the current, instantaneous current may be very high, which may be not that good for your battery. So to have some control over it, we are putting one switch there. So clear why this switch is there. The final one is charging and discharging both on. So battery is charging. So the last situation, battery is charging. Sorry, battery is discharging, and the ultra capacitor switch is made off so that the line can draw some uh, charge from battery also. Okay. So these are the operation of uh, the multi-input converter in three different modes. Here, now we want to understand the situation in little bit detail. That is, when one converter, any one source is operating, what may happen? This is actually two switch. I'm looking at only one switch, one source. Earlier there were two sources, but if I'm looking at only one source and try to understand these gate signals, things will be little bit clear to us. What we see here, that you are having gate pulse around T0 and S. S is this one, let me put that pen once again back. That is, it is T0. T0 is this one. And it is let me, it is no. It is your uh, S main switch, and this is the main switch. Okay, so we understand this is happening. Now there are four possible periods: T1, T2, T3, T4. Four are not required, but four possible things are there. You are having two switches, so possible combinations are four because they can be on and off. They are having two states, so 2 into 2, 4 states, four possible combinations. First one, uh, T0 on, S off. Okay, this is first one. Second one, both T0 and S are on. Third one, T0 off, but uh, sorry, T1, T0 on, S off, that is the first case. T0 on, S on, second case. T0 off, S on, third case. And T0 off, S off, fourth case. Okay, so we are repeating after that. But interestingly, this case is not giving any, this situation is not contributing anything. So what you can do, what we also do always, that we synchronize these on times. That is, both the switches will be on at the same time. So this first part will not be there. So both T0 and S will be on at the same time. Now T0 will be on for some time and S will be on for some other time. Not that they will be on for same time. Okay. Now what will happen? Let us see in the circuit and understand that T0 is on and S is on. This T2 situation. T0 is on and S is on. So this circuit is on. This is on, and this switch is on. And understand during this time, as your feeling this Q1 is off. That is, we are not considering about Q1 state because it is discharging. We are considering battery is discharging. So what will happen if the battery is discharging? What will happen when the switch is on? T0 and S both are on. The battery will be charging, the S is on, so battery will be charging the inductor through this T0 and complete the path. Clear? Clear? That is, current will come from this path, take this path, flow through this path, and will return here. I think I have missed that there is one ground line. This ground line is there. During presentation, this ground line is missed. So it is grounded. This is also grounded, so it can return. Return path is there. It is not that this point and this point is isolated. So I must say that it is okay. What happened? Okay. I must say that this point is grounded, though this figure is not showing, but it is grounded. This figure was showing earlier. Now it is the first situation. The inductor is charging. Second situation, that is T0 is off. This switch is off. This switch is off, and AC is on. As this is on, off, current cannot go through this path. Is not it? Current cannot go through this path. So current can go through this path. Okay, current can take this path. Now understand, as it is actually inductor is charging and inductor is discharging, it is either boost or buck boost situation. It is boost, but you know, those of you understand the circuit from the uh, uh, concept of charging of inductor, you already got the idea that it is working as boost converter. So your output voltage is more than the input voltage. So what will happen, even if this is off, if I say current will go in the positive direction, even then the voltage here, maybe for some time the inductor will continue in this direction or in other direction, but the voltage across the inductor is negative because this voltage is more than this. So your voltage here is during this time is V0 minus V in. So for the first time it was V0, but for the second case it is V0 minus V. And then the third, because this first is not there, so it is first, it is second. During the third state, when both are off, your AC is also off, your T is also off. So what can happen with the inductor? It can now discharge through this Q0 and through this capacitor. No? So the new current will take this path and flow through this line, will end here. And understand one also another thing, that it will take, the current will actually return through this point to this inductor, through this point. Okay. So the inductor voltage at that point of time is only output voltage in negative direction. So your VO is here. So this circuit is giving us one idea that we will be having, and the one which we are not considering at the time, our voltage was 0. So I'm not considering that one. We are starting from this. So three different equations we are getting for three different time across inductor. What are the equations? First is during this T2 time, it was for the first time the voltage is V battery. So I'm considering, as this T1 is not there, dt0 is the time for which it was on. The duty ratio, actually dt0 into ts, total time is the time for which the uh, switch was on, the T0 switch was on. So your positive voltage came across your inductor is Vbat, and that was lasting for dt0 into ts. Ts is there at both left hand and right hand side, so ts are cancelled. So we are writing Vbat into dt0. Okay. So this is the situation for positive. And for inductor, we all know that average one means over the whole cycle, the average energy stored in the inductor is 0. Means it is storing something and then it is discharging that. If it is continuously storing, the voltage will be rising. If it is continuously discharging, the voltage will be falling. But it is not happening. So you are running in steady state. Considering steady state operation, the voltage, the energy across the inductor is 0. We all know this thing. No? So Vbat into dt0 is the positive one, and the negative is what? This duration means the area. If I try to understand this area, this is the area. Oh, this area. What is this area? It is V0 into V0 minus Vbat, output minus input, V0 minus Vbat, and it is running for this duration. This is the duration T3, where Qs minus T0, S minus T0. So ds minus dt0. That is for this duration. And another negative is coming with this small duration, which I can show in this way. It is the small duration. Now what is this area? It is V0 into T4. T4 is, as per the circuit goes, this is the time when the AC is off. So it is 1 minus ds. So this is the way we are writing the equation. Okay. If it is the thing, sorry. Then the next part is we are writing the Vbat related components in the left hand and V0 related component in the right hand. So what we find, this point and this are cancelling each other, and in case of V0 ds also, V0 ds and minus V0 ds will be cancelling each other. So your final outcome is Vbat into ds equals to V0 into 1 minus dt0. So we are getting one clear idea between the relation of battery voltage and output voltage. These kind of equations you have to frame for other source also and other modes also. It is only one mode, one equation I am describing here. Only one mode, one equation. But if it is UC, then it will be simply VUC into D of that UC, uh, equals to V0 into 1 minus dt. Okay. So if you consider dt0 is uh, if your V0 is higher than VBAT, and VBAT say 100 volt for our operation, nominal voltage 100 volt, and output is say 125 volt. So what is the relation between DS and dt0? You can get from there. Okay. Then for all different modes, you will be having all these three equations. Okay. Uh, so it is the first one is the discharging mode, the second one is the regenerative mode, third one is the charging mode. Now you may say during regenerative mode, why the battery is not there? Actually, to avoid a little bit complication during modeling, we are considering regenerative mode will not charge the battery. The battery charging is, there is one possibility, but we are not using it right now. We are considering the battery will be charged from external source using charger. Right? The first figure was showing that. If we consider this is our circuit, these are the equations, and if we uh, frame our model, if we try to understand our converter model, multi-input converter model from these three equations, we can prepare one Simulink control of it. Now, during this control, we are considering 100 voltage. 100 volt is there across across the battery, nominal voltage, and ultra capacitor voltage is kept at 125 volt, where the output voltage reference is 144 volt. Okay, so 100 volt battery, though the initial volt of the battery is kept at 110, it will quickly settle at 100 volt. It will it will be done down. Okay, so battery voltage you can consider 100 volt, capacitor voltage you can consider 125 volt, and output is 144. So both battery and ultra capacitors, these converters separately, if you look at them, they are working as boost converter. Okay, but they are actually working at the same time. So something common will be there, and some charge takeover handover will be there. And two cases are shown for you. First case is when the state of charge in the ultra capacitor is 0.95, and second case state of the charge is 0.85. Now um, ultra capacitor state of charge is very important. Ultra capacitor will be supplying power, no problem, but we must keep the state of charge somewhere, which is sufficient to give you the propulsion power. So that state of charge for this rating of ultra capacitor 63 farad was calculated in this case and found to be 0.89. So actually we are showing you two different cases when your state of charge is more than your uh, minimum requirement, and when the state of charge is less than your minimum requirement. Minimum is the requirement for your power, for your acceleration, so that battery will be saved, your battery life will be improved. That was the idea. Okay, now in both the cases it is shown that it is managing properly, the regulation is very nice. Ah, we have seen that one. Let us see, this is the case 1 and case 2 results. What we see, this is the instantaneous power from the ultra capacitor. So for some time it is positive because acceleration was required, and for some time it is negative because it is charging. Your first case, as we have mentioned, there was 0.95. The SOC was 0.95. So basically, the average power you can say is discharging. On average, the ultra capacitor is discharging for this 1400 seconds. Though for some time it was charging and for some time it is discharging, but average we find the power is positive, means the ultra capacitor is supplying some power. Okay, so from 0.95 it can go down to 0.89, so it is supplying. But you check the second case. In the second case, as the SOC was 0.85 and we need 0.89. So our average is negative here. That is, it will be basically charging, though it is once again discharging. The situation is same, but the battery was managed in a way, you can see the ultra capacitor is working in the same way, but still same way means not exactly same. Means for some time it is discharging, for some time it is charging. But if you take the average, it is going to, the average in the second case is negative. How it is getting negative? Because battery is supplying it. Okay. And how it was positive? Because it was supplying to the load. So battery was less stressed in the first case. But anyway, even if it is in second case, then also during some acceleration, the ultra capacitor was supplying power. So your battery was saved. How was your battery performance? This is your battery performance. You see, your battery in first case is giving average power 4.75 kilowatt. In second case, it is giving 7.09 kilowatt. Higher kilowatt, because in the second case, the ultra capacitor is taking charge from battery, as well as because of its own restriction, it is giving little less power to the load also. So that is the reason your battery has to give little more. Uh, and how it will be chosen means ultra capacitor will be charging or discharging, battery will be charging or discharging, regenerative will be working or not working. All these things will be decided by another supervisory controller, which will be dependent on some logic. In this case, it was fuzzy logic based controller, but that side I am not going. I will come to that part or detail of the controller if time permits at the end. But here we understand the gross thing. That is ultra capacitor. When we are managing battery and ultra capacitor, how we can manage. It is giving us one idea that how we can manage for these hybrid sources. And this is the nature of your ultra capacitor state of the charge. It is gradually coming down and for case 1, and it is gradually coming up for case 2. So your state of the charge is actually uh, trying to meet the reference line. Your reference line was 0.89. So that was the proposal we got. We have used this multi-input converter with two sources and seen these are the things. Well, if there are three sources, situations will be complicated. If there are another type of sources, another type of complications. But I told at the beginning, I am also a learner like you here. So we are just coming to the field, and the area is wide open. We can think about different proposals, and we can come up with different type of power circuit and their controls. Means combinations are really very hard. Means what are the power circuits, what are the controls, and combination of them are really very high. So you are most welcome to this research field. Probably some of you are already there, very nicely there, footed in this electric vehicle research and application. I'm just telling you this. This is one possibility. So this was the third case. I have just it here today's session after these two sources, because the two sources are making little bit conversant with the situation. Now with this battery and ultra capacitor, we are adding another source. Understand? Battery and ultra capacitors are very a little bit not very are complicated, little bit complicated. So the uh, having PV will be increasing the complications further, and the PV now can charge both battery and ultra capacitor. PV can work in uh, MPPT mode if your load is sufficient. If your SOCs are less, PV can run in MPPT. If the load is not there and they are already in SOC, is more or less achieved, then PV has no role, it will not work, something like that. So these things we have, this flowchart also we have discussed in our last class. Huh? So I consider this is more or less okay with you. Yeah? And for hybrid topology, I there is actually a two-layer hybrid. Now, one is uh, induction machine and electrical, that is one hybrid, and within the electrical some other sources, some number of sources, that is another hybrid. So two layer of hybrid. For first layer, when you are talking about IC engine and electric motor, who will work? Is electric will alone, or hybrid will work, or engine alone? This decision can be taken in this traction mode, or regenerative will be there, hybrid regenerative braking or simple regenerative braking. It can be also understand from this mode. Okay, so this particular flow chart is giving us one idea how one complex hybrid can work, and how one parallel hybrid can work is shown in this flow chart. Complex and parallel, if you remember, we have discussed complex and parallel. I think the topologies were discussed uh, here. Yes. So this is the complex hybrid and this is the parallel hybrid. This B and D. Okay. And for B and D, those two flowcharts were shown to you. Sorry. These two flowcharts. It is for parallel, it is for complex. Now, if I consider, okay, parallel hybrid and complex hybrid is, it is not that tough. You can really manage it, parallel hybrid and complex hybrid. But that management is little bit less complicated because it is only a flowchart. You will be working with the engine or you will be working with the motor. That is your idea. Or you will be working with both in the P4 or P0. We have seen the traction arrangement in our first session. Maybe it is with you, or maybe you can go back to the recording later, or material will also be supplied to you. After this session is over, I will be supplying the full material. So one material only will be covering both the sessions. So it will be easy for you to glide from one slide to another. Okay. Now, if I say implementation of one flowchart is uh, possible, you can have it. Then the next task was the implementation of the hybrid storage. The hybrid storage, what we have discussed so far, was telling us the just excuse me, just telling us the overview, that is how it will be managed, but the control structure is not clearly described. Now, detail control definitely will require little more attention from you. I am ready to go in that side, means discuss the detail control of your inverter, multi-input inverter, and then I'm asking your permission to go to that side. That is how we will actually be controlling, because here we have shown only what will be controlled. Huh? The control structure is not shown here. So, Shantanu or participants, what do you feel? Should I discuss the control structure a
Sir,
little bit?
move forward, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Move forward, sir. Move forward,
Okay.
sir. Move forward. No
Okay.
problem, sir.
Thank
Good,
you.
good, sir.
Thank you for
Actually.
your permission, because sometimes in one session going in that depth may give them some pressure. But anyway, let me put you one control structure. Uh, put one control structure for you here. This is one multi-input converter, and it is called double input buck and buck boost fused converter. Means one converter will be working in both the mode. One is in buck, one is in buck boost. Both can work. So it is a little bit new proposal, you can say. Not very new. This proposal came in the year 2015, 15 or 16. So 5 years back, uh, but the control of this converter is still under development because there are different issues, right? And integration of this converter with vehicle is another issue, and that part I am keeping away for now. What we see in this converter, these are the two things. One is this inductor current, one is this output voltage, which will be controlled. Hmm. So I'm thinking about one problem here where two inputs will be supplying one output, multi-input situation, and uh, one output means one point of output, but you can control uh, both the inductor current and the capacitor voltage at a time because you are having two sources. For the shake-off operation, we have said it is high voltage source, it is low voltage source. You are having both situations. The high voltage will be working as buck and low voltage will be working as buck boost. So, and that will be your, here will be your output. So, what are the possible situations? Uh, one is these two switches once again will be giving you four possible combinations here, and they will be changing. You understand? They will be changing both inductor current and capacitor voltage. But we have proposed one controller here where it is sliding mode control, where the inductor current will be controlled by the lower switch, switch 2, and capacitor voltage will be controlled by the higher voltage switch or switch 1 because it is upper I'm telling switch 1, it is switch 2. Though it is written H and L here, but because in later we will be discussing in that way. So this switch will be controlling the capacitor voltage. This switch will be controlling the inductor current, though both of them are having effects on these parameters. So some way one internal decoupling is required, or you can go for one mathematical decoupling, or you can use your sliding mode control to consider this coupling effect and develop its output so that it can manage. So sliding mode controls are very powerful and they can do many things, though there are some limitations also. But today we will be discussing the advantages mostly. Now, when you will be really implementing for three sources, you can see what is happening. Now, um, the desired level of control variables are inductor current and output voltage. I have said only, and they must be very fast simultaneously. Means both of them should be managed. You can, if you change the inductor current reference, then it will change very quickly, keeping the output voltage fixed. If you change the output voltage reference, it will change very quickly, keeping the input inductor current fixed. Now, two different disturbances are also considered. One is the increment in load, suddenly increment is happening, your sources are managing. Another is decrement in supply voltage, suddenly your supply voltage is reducing. Then how one of them, H or L, high or low, any one voltage is changing, how the full control is managing. So these are different things we must understand before we are developing the controller. Now, before we go to the controller, let us get some idea about the operation. When they are switching, what is happening? This is the situation. When they are switching, what is happening? The upper one is inductor current. Let me get the pen here. It will help you. So this is inductor current, this is inductor current, and this is output voltage. And these two things are changing. You can see they are changing. It is repeating from this point. From this point to this point is the period for inductor current. In this period, there are four slopes: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Four slopes because four possible combinations are there. Similarly, for capacitor voltage, period ends here. Uh, from this end, there are four slopes. 1, 2. Actually, there is one slope here also. They are more or less same, looking like same. 1, 2, 3, and 4 should be ending here because this is the period ends. Okay, so these are the possible combinations. So it is switch 1, switch 2. For some time switch 1 is on, for some time switch 2 is on, and for some time what we see both are on, for some time both are off. So this is the end. This is only switch 2 on, first case T1. T1 only switch 2 is on, T2 both switches are on, T3 only switch 1 is on, T4 both switches are off. Clear? These are the periods. Now what is happening? When we understand this case. First T1. T1 is what? Only switch 2 is on. Only switch 2 is on. Okay? That is, this switch is on. Only this switch is on, this switch is off. So current from this it will go to the inductor and it will come back to this part. Okay, so inductor will charge. For this T1 time, the inductor will charge and inductor current will increase. Clear? The inductor current will increase because it is connected with one supplier, so it is charging the inductor. Okay, but during this time, what happens with the capacitor? The capacitor has no option that it will discharge through the resistor. Okay, to maintain the voltage here, the capacitor will discharge through the resistor. So capacitor voltage will go down for this period. For the T1, capacitor voltage is falling, inductor current is rising. Clear? Now the second case, both are on, means it was on, it is also on. So what will happen for the current here? It will not go to through this one. It will take this path. Because this voltage will also force current to flow. So it is a joint force, and jointly they will charge the inductor. Clear? And take this path. Okay. Okay. So inductor current will rise quickly. And during this time, once again, the capacitor has no option. Still, it is taking the same slope. It is falling down. That is the reason it is falling down with the same slope. Now the third case. Third case is only switch 1 is on and switch. Okay, it is not going on. Only switch 1. This is on, and this switch is off. Only this switch is on. So uh, if this is off, what will happen? This current now will take this path. It cannot return through this path, because this switch is off. So it has to go to this line, and then it will come back, and then it will return through this path. So this is a new path. Clear? This is the new path. But with this new path, what happens? As your high voltage is higher, it is buck boost, so the high voltage is higher, then it will still, though it is not correct, it will still charge the inductor because this voltage is higher than the output voltage. It is running in buck mode. So in buck mode, it is still running in the it is still charging the inductor. So inductor current still rises in this third case, still rises. But as this time the capacitor is also supplied by both high voltage source and inductor. Inductor a little bit, but high voltage source mainly. The capacitor is charging, and so your capacitor voltage is rising. So unlike first two case, now capacitor voltage is rising. Now the last case, both are off. Both are off. So what will happen? The inductor will discharge through this path. This is the simple situation. Inductor is discharging through this path, and capacitor is charging through the inductor. Inductor is charging the capacitor and supplying power to the load. So inductor current is falling quickly because it is giving both, and capacitor is still rising little bit, and then it ends. We are going to the fourth situation. Okay, so we get the idea how for three cases inductor current will be rising. case it will be falling. How for 2 stages capacitor voltage will be falling, and for 2 stages it will be rising. Now what I have said you earlier, I have said the switch 2 or the sorry high voltage switch 1 is managing the capacitor voltage. What we see here, the switch 1, this one will be managing the capacitor voltage, and switch 2, this one will be managing the inductor current. This is the idea. Okay. So when we will be developing our control, we will be developing two sliding surfaces. Sliding surface will be based on the inductor current and capacitor voltage. So these are the two sliding surfaces. One is IL star minus IL, one is VC star minus VC. Now we have to VC star minus VC or VO star minus VO, same. Capacitor voltage is the output voltage. Now, if your current is less than the desired one, then you are actually below the sliding surface. And when it is more, you are above the sliding surface. And in sliding mode control, your main target is to bring everything on the surface. So it can manage the actual current to be same as the reference one. But definitely it will not use any PI controller or any design controller in that way. It will use one control logic. Okay, what is that control logic here? We have say control algorithm. Anything is mentioned here? Control law. Okay, it is said one control law should be there, depending upon your value of S1 and S2 plus and minus. This figure is telling us you can choose that. Here we can see for S1. Okay, my power is going down. Just hold it. I forget to check that. Sorry. Acha. If your IL S1 is this is IL is varying not within the band, it is not like one just hysteresis band controller. If it is in the positive side, if your IL is more than IL star, your S1 will be minus, but it can be up to, normally we are setting a limit up to minus beta. And if your IL is less than IL star, then your S1 is plus, because S1 is that. If it is less than this one, S1 is plus, and maximum possible value is beta. So in both the side, it can go up to minus beta to plus beta. So total variation is 2 beta for S1. Similarly, total variation for S2 is 2 alpha, minus alpha to plus alpha. Okay, so these are S1 and S2's limits. But we understand from here, even if our switches are operating with this control law, the current can go beyond the band. Current and voltage can go beyond the band because other switch is operating there. Other switch is giving some changes, offering some changes. So it will be there. But still I am expressing the control law here. Is written as U1 equals to, this is the law, U1, your switch state will be 1 plus signum S2 by 2, and U2 is 1 plus signum S1 by 2. Because S1 is controlled by 2, S2 is controlled by 1. This is the reason. So we'll switch one. Now what do we know? If S2 is minus alpha, signum, this is the definition of signum. If your x is less than 0, then your signum will be minus 1. If your x is more than 0, is normal situation, then your value will be 1. If it is 0, it will be 0. So it is shown in this figure also. If your x is in this side, it is 1. If his x is less this side, it is minus 1. But we are changing this law. We are telling no, not like that. If S2 is more than alpha, not more than 0. If it is more than alpha, then this will be 1. Okay, signum value is 1. And if signum value is 1, then 1 plus 1 by 2 is 1. Your switch will be on. If S is less than minus alpha, then your signum value will be minus 1. Less than, not less than 0, less than minus alpha, it will be minus 1. If it is minus 1, then 1 minus 1 is 0 by 2 is 0, then your switch will be off. So this is for switch 1, which is connected with sliding surface 2, which is capacitor voltage. Okay. Similarly, it is switch 1 is high voltage switch, SH. And here, same way, if more than beta, it will be on. If less than minus beta, it will be off. You can say from, you can see from here. This is the, is it visible? This, there are actually two band lines. I'm not sure you can see it or not. It is there. This is the reference line. Even if it is going above it, it is waiting, and when it's touching the upper limit, the switch will be off. When it will be touching the lower limit, the switch will be on. It is the way the switch will vary, but actually the current will be little bit more than that one. It may be little bit more than that one, because you know from our earlier check. Okay, so they, after this, we are implementing this control law. Okay, so we have set everything. Now I can assure you that with this control law and with this sliding surface, with proper selection of alpha and beta, there is some rule how to select alpha and beta. Your control will be working nicely. That is just 1 minute. Just let me see if it is there. If it is there. Uh, okay, no. Sorry, it is. I'm not finding. Okay, no issue. Uh, Let me see what happens with the operation. I will be supplying this paper also. This is one published paper from our laboratory, that how this control law is ensuring the sliding surface management. That paper also I will attach with the PPT, so you can understand the logic properly. Now, what we see here, the output voltage reference is changing. In the first figure, output voltage reference is changing, and your actual voltage is following that one. Okay, and once again it is falling, actual voltage is following that one, and it is taking some time. How much time? In this case, it was very fast. It was within 10 milliseconds it was rising, but during fall it was taking roughly 30 milliseconds. But even 10 milliseconds and 30 milliseconds, you understand, is quite fast. Quite quickly you are achieving the limit. Earlier, I remember with multi-input converter, power level converter, uh, having settling time less than 100 or 200 millisecond is very tough with normal controller, PI controller, say, or any other decoupled PI controller. Then also it is not that easy. But with sliding mode control, it is really fast, very fast. And during this time, as the voltage was rising, the load current is rising, and the inductor current is having little bit shoot of it. But when we are, this is the simulation part, and this is implemented in hardware. In hardware, what we see, the output voltage is rising quickly. It is 10 millisecond is the time span, but it is rising less than 10 milliseconds. Within 10 milliseconds, it is reaching. Okay, and we are having a slight ripple in the inductor current, but it is also quickly settling down, even less than that time. So within, as per the figures suggests, it is settling within 6 milliseconds. Okay, and here output voltage is falling. We understand that rise and fall here can be shown in one diagram for simulation, not that easy in real time, because then you will not, you cannot see the time, rise time and fall time clearly. Here you are getting the fall time is within 30 millisecond. So these happen with the complicated controller. You can achieve the performance through that controller, through this controller. Huh? And it is the output voltage reference change. Next is the inductor current reference change. You see, it is almost instantaneous in simulation. It is instantaneous. I am not finding any delay. You change the reference, it is changing. You change this one, it is changing. So fast operation is achieved. It is really unbelievable at the point of implementation also. See, in real time also it is changing just instantaneous. And there is no change in the output voltage. Means your other controller, output voltage is controlled by the other switch. And that switch is maintaining it successfully. One switch is changing the inductor current very quickly, another switch is maintaining it. Okay, so this was the beauty we have observed in our laboratory itself, and that's why we are proposing it, we are showing it. The next one is the change in the input voltage. We see keeping one voltage high voltage fixed, we have changed the only the input voltage, lower input voltage. But when we are implementing it in the actual hardware circuit, reduction of the input voltage cannot be achieved instant. It is the disturbance, it is the input disturbance. But you know, in your laboratory uh, or in real life, let us say your input voltage, low voltage supply is coming from photovoltaic, and suddenly the solar is reducing and your voltage supply is reducing. But that will not happen in this manner, not in this step manner. It is not possible that solar changed from 1000 watt per meter square irradiance value to 800 watt per meter square instantly. It will take some milliseconds, some seconds also. So anyway, here we have done it as much quickly as possible, and we see there is no effect on our control variables. They are fixed. Your controller is working nicely and keeping the output fixed during this variation. Both the outputs are fixed. And final one is the change in the load current. Loads changed instantly. We can increase the load, and we see load current changed and increased by roughly 50% change. No. I think 33% change. 33% change in the load current, and then it came back to the earlier value. And during these entire variations, the output voltage and inductor currents were made as it is. Okay, so these are the few results we can show you for this um, multi-input converter, and we have tried to achieve with photovoltaic and battery. And because photovoltaic and battery, if it is successful, then you can go for on ultra capacitor management easily. But battery and ultra capacitor already has been uh, shown to you. This is the battery ultra capacitor performance. So this is in photovoltaic performance. Uh, we are learning how to do that, and we understand what we achieved there. It will also work. So with that, I can say we are at the end of the session, where we understand that this was our last day's message also to all electric vehicle manufacturer and supplier. But I must say, one thing I must say, whatever the technology you are bringing, to reach your goal, that is, you are supplying to so many types of these are the so many types of already available cars in market. You are getting it, but please take it from me. Whatever technology you use, no one can offer you the same output as the petroleum based one. It is not possible. If you really want to get it, then you are actually undermining the effect of climate climate change. Because the petroleum itself, use of petroleum itself was not normal, was was really bad for our environment. Now, if we are shifting from that end, we should change that really bad normal situation also. It is not that we are just shifting the technology and working in the same line as the earlier. We are not only changing the technology, we are also changing our habit. We will be using electric cars, definitely, hybrid cars, or simply hybrid electrical car, not IC engine, fully free from IC engine. Hybrid electrical car driven from photovoltaic mostly. Even then, you understand one with these things, a short bike coverage will be there. Long drive is going to be as one crime in future society. It will happen. So, with that message, I do conclude this show, and I will like to say heartfelt thanks to all participants and organizers for the uh, platform offered to me, and I am now open for the question and answer. If you have any, you can uh, put it in front of me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Especially means the sliding mode part and all the experimental part was very encouraging for us actually, and you have shown the experimental results also and the comparison and why sliding mode control is best one. So, I mean, any questions from the participant side they can ask to sir now. It was a very nice presentation. I really liked it a lot actually.
Thank you, John.
Amazing one. Amazing, sir. Amazing. This one was best one. Very good
Thank you, John.
presentation, sir.
But remember that message, that we will develop, our technology will be developed, everything will be happening, but we must do something in the demand side also. We try to reduce our demand. There is no way out. We have to reduce our demand. Otherwise, technology will not solve this problem. Problem is very, very severe. But we must not be spectator only. We must work in that line. That is the idea. Anyway, uh, thank you for your good comments.
Thank
So
you,
what
sir.
I feel, participants are waiting for the slides and the paper that I'll be giving you at the end of this uh, session. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So I'm
Any-
logging out with
Yes, sir. Yes,
permission
sir.
of
Definitely, sir.
organizer and participants.
Definitely, sir. Thank
Participants,
you, sir.
any,
Thank you very much, sir. Yes.
yes, any comment, if any comment is there with you, what you are not putting right now, you can mail me. My official mail address and things are available in NIT Durgapur website. In electrical engineering department, you will get me, and I will be very happy to be connected with you in future also. So, best of luck
Hello.
to,
Hello, sir.
yes.
Uh, so just want to say one thing. It's a good presentation, sir. Only thing is that people like me who are mechanical engineers, hardcore mechanical engineers, it's difficult to get into the what you are saying 100%. But we got a sense of it. But it's difficult to understand all the what you are told all details on technical circuits. So it's
Hmm.
hard to follow you. But it was naturally we could get a sense that it's a quality presentation. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, thank you. I understand things are developed in 5 6 years and presented in 50 minutes. Definitely, it will be difficult to understand.
Thanks, sir.
But well, material will be available with you. Recording will be available with you. So hopefully you will enjoy the things. And best of luck to all of you and organizers especially.
Thank
See
you, sir.
you
Thank you for your
later.
kind presence, sir.
Okay,
Very
bye.
despite of
Bye
the
now.
such a hectic schedule you attended. Okay, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.
So it was a quite a nice presentation. Especially, I feel the sliding mode control topology, which I was about to discuss in the hall in my session. Sarah already discussed everything actually. Means nooks and corner of the especially a sliding mode control topology were being discussed, along with the experimental result and how close the simulation was with the experiment actually. Ah, and what was the response time? Means suppose there is a certain change in load voltage or load current, then by application of sliding mode control, um, how much quickly that that change will be traced out actually. Okay, and Sarah well justified that why PI controller or might be PID controller or might be the PR controller is not that much appropriate as compared to the sliding mode control, and why appropriately the sliding mode control is the best of all the options available in the market. Sarah has well explained it, and I feel all the participants enjoyed this session specifically a lot, especially a lot actually, because the previous session there was a lot of I mean internet problems and all internet issues were prevailing actually, but I feel this session has actually means helped us a lot actually. Thank you for being part. The next session will be starting from 3 o'clock hopefully. Okay, so be present in that part of the session. There I'll be discussing about different types of control topologies present for the induction machine, present for the DC machine, and different types of controller topologies and different types of PWMs. All those things will be discussed in the next session. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
See, those who are from electrical engineering background, I don't know about the mechanical background people actually, because this session was totally up to the electrical one actually. I hope each and everyone enjoyed this session a lot, and this will be very much useful for the research perspective also. Okay, now how to implement the sliding mode control. Okay, what do you mean by the signal function? Okay, and why U1, U2 means that getting signals. Okay, and how it is coming zero, how the switch are being on, how the switch are being off, all those things were discussed. Thank you very much.